Today I'm going to show you how to replace the front window regulator on your 2004 to 2008 Ford F-150. This is the same procedure for Lincoln Mark LT trucks as well. Start by removing the switch panel by prying up on the back corner with a pry tool. Disconnect all electrical connectors by pressing the middle tab in and pulling them out. Take a right angle pick and remove the door handle screw cover. Use an 8mm socket to remove both door handle bolts. Take a right angle pick and pry the front of the door handle assembly outward and pull the assembly out. Use a screwdriver to pry the cable lug up out of its retaining groove. Slip the cable end out of the door handle assembly. Use a right angle pick and gently pry the speaker grill away from the door panel. It's held in with plastic clips which are very fragile, so be gentle. Remove the 4 screws on each corner of the speaker using a 7/32 socket. Disconnect the speaker wire by pressing in the black retaining tab and pulling out. Use a pry tool to remove the bottom 2 screw lugs. It's not necessary to remove the top ones. There are 2 screws along the bottom of the door panel. Remove them using a 6mm socket. Remove the bolt just below the door handle using an 8mm socket. Now just lift the door panel upward and pull it away from the door. Begin removing the water shield. It's helpful to use a razor blade to cut the butyl sealant. Be very careful not to cut the wiring harnesses. Now secure the window so it does not fall into the door when the regulator is removed. I use clear mailing tape on the outside of the window. Don't use it on the inside, especially if you have tinted windows. There are 2 oval-shaped holes that allow access to the clamp bolts that attach the window to the regulator. You do not have to completely remove the bolts, just loosen them enough to detach the glass. Disconnect the window motor by pressing in the plastic tab and pulling it out. There are 5 bolts that hold the regulator and motor in place. Remove them using a 10mm socket, starting with the center bolt. Once the last bolt is out, the whole regulator should drop. The regulator comes out through this opening. It will take a bit of wrestling to get it out. It will come out bottom first through the opening. You will have to tilt each track to get the correct angle for it to come out without binding on anything. The regulator will catch on things inside the door, so don't pull too hard to get it out. Now take the replacement regulator, insert it topside first into the opening. Angle each track to get them through the opening. Neither removal or installation of these regulators is very straightforward. You just have to wrestle with them without forcing things too much. Get each track to stand up straight and make sure they're not catching on anything. Begin threading in the 10mm bolts. Do not tighten any bolts until all 5 are at least 4 turns in. Then torque them a 1/4 turn past snug. Reconnect the window motor to the wiring harness. You'll hear a click when it's fully seated. Make sure the clamp bolts that attach the regulator to the glass are accessible. Remove whatever you use to hold the window up and gently lower it into the regulator clamps. Do not tighten the bolts yet. Reconnect the switch panel and turn the key on. Roll the window all the way up to its fully closed position. Now tighten the clamp bolts through the oval access holes. Do not over tighten these or you could break the glass. A 1/4 to 1/2 turn past snug is fine. Roll the window up and down a few times, make sure everything's in good working order. Check that no moving parts are catching on any cables or wiring harnesses. Begin reinstalling the water shield. The butyl sealant is usually sticky enough to go back on with ease. If not, use a hairdryer or friction to warm it up. The door panel has various plastic hooks that attach it to the door. Make sure each hook goes into its respective port properly on the door. Reach through the window switch hole and pull all the connectors through. Make sure the door lock post is in place. Once all the door panel hooks are in place and the panel is flush against the metal on all sides, push downwards on it. Make sure everything is flush and the lock post is not binding. Then begin inserting the screws. Start with the bottom 2 6mm screws, then the 8mm bolt beneath the door handle. Install the door handle assembly. Drop the cable end into its slot and then push the white lug into its retaining groove on the housing. You'll hear a click when it's fully inserted. Insert the assembly back first into the door panel and seat the clips in the front. Tighten the 2 8mm bolts. Push the 2 speaker screw lugs into the door. Reconnect the speaker to the wiring harness. Reinstall the 4 7/32 speaker screws. Line up the plastic clips to the speaker grill to their respective ports in the door panel and gently push them in place. Reconnect all electrical connectors to the switch panel. Each connector will click when it's fully inserted. Line up the 3 plastic tabs and then press down to seat the clips. Now just make sure everything works, and you're done. If this video helped you, please consider supporting the channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Thanks for watching.